Some people walk into a room and change the temperature. You walk in and change the atmosphere without even trying. Before anyone argues with that, here's a strange but very real fact. Psychologists have found that certain individuals unconsciously influence the emotional stability of an entire environment simply by being present, not by speaking, not by doing anything dramatic, just by existing in the space. And whether you realize it or not, you fall into that rare category that leaves people whispering, watching, and yes, sometimes investigating you like you're a walking mystery file. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. When you carry abilities that don't fit neatly into everyday explanations, people notice. They don't always understand you, but they can't ignore you either. Your intuition hits before events unfold. Your observations land where others' assumptions crumble. And your energy sets off something in people: interest, curiosity, insecurity, or the kind of quiet panic they pretend isn't happening. You've got three inexplicable powers they can't quantify, can't predict, and definitely can't duplicate. The kind of abilities that make some people curious, others uncomfortable, and a few suddenly act like they're auditioning for a crime documentary, studying you, tracking you, trying to decode how you know what you know. And while they're out here analyzing you like a lab project, you're just living your life, minding your business, wondering why the most basic things you do suddenly feel like classified investigations to them. It's almost funny, if you tilt your head just right, because you're not doing anything unusual. You're simply wired differently, and that difference, it shines through everything you touch, so buckle in. Because once we break down these three powers, you'll finally understand why people stare longer, react stronger, and keep asking themselves the same silent question: how does this person see what the rest of us miss? And trust me, they're not ready for the answer. Number 1, your mind detects emotional microshifts before people realize they changed. What makes this ability so unsettling to others is that you're not using effort, strategy, or technique. You simply notice things. While most people need someone to raise their voice, pull away, or switch their attitude to understand something has shifted, you pick up on the first tiny flicker. The kind of emotional movement even the person themselves hasn't processed yet. It's like you have an internal radar that catches the moment someone's energy stumbles, even if their face is still smiling and their words haven't changed. This skill doesn't come from suspicion or paranoia. It comes from a natural sensitivity to the micro details most people live too fast or too distracted to see. You notice the slight pause before someone answers. You pick up on the discomfort hidden behind a joke. You hear the strain in a voice that sounds normal to everyone else. You sense when someone's thoughts shift direction, even if they stay silent and steady on the outside. What makes this gift powerful is that it gives you the truth early, long before the situation grows into something obvious. You can feel when someone switches from honest to guarded, from open to defensive, from supportive to jealous. You don't always call it out, but internally you already know the story is changing. And because of that, you adjust your behavior naturally. You protect yourself early. You prepare mentally. You step back or step forward at the exact right moment without needing an explanation. People don't understand how you always knew something was off before it collapsed. They wonder how you predicted a shift that wasn't visible. To them, it feels like intuition on steroids. To you, it's just pattern reading. You're simply tuned into the human signals that most people overlook. And the ironic part? You're not even trying to analyze anyone. Your mind does it passively, the way others breathe or blink. It's effortless for you, but extraordinary to everyone else. That's why this ability feels inexplicable. You're operating on a level of awareness most people don't even know exists. Number 2, you break social scripts without trying, and it forces people to show their real selves. There's something quietly disruptive about the way you exist in a room. You don't plan it, you don't announce it, and you certainly don't aim to make anyone uncomfortable, but the effect is undeniable. Social scripts are the invisible rules everyone follows to fit in, to appear polite, capable, or likable. Most people wear these scripts like armor, carefully performing the role they think is expected. You, on the other hand, don't follow scripts because your presence operates on a different wavelength. You speak, move, and react according to your own logic, and suddenly the careful choreography around you falls apart. People don't realize it immediately, but they start showing parts of themselves they usually hide, and they do it almost instinctively. This ability isn't about confrontation or dominance, it's about authenticity. You aren't trying to expose people, yet your very being makes the fake crumble. When someone is used to controlling impressions, trying to manipulate perception, or hiding discomfort, your unfiltered energy becomes a mirror they can't ignore. Their responses shift, sometimes subtly, a slip of the tongue, a nervous gesture, a defensive tone. But these small cracks reveal truths they never intended to share. And once that mask slips, there's no putting it back in place. You've silently rewritten the rules of interaction just by being yourself. What makes this skill extraordinary is its unconscious precision. You don't have to interrogate, prod, or challenge anyone. You don't need words to break through facades. People reveal themselves because your natural presence interrupts their performance. It forces a recalibration they can't control. They may feel unsettled, curious, or even a little exposed, but you're entirely unaware of the subtle power you're wielding because it comes as naturally to you as breathing. Over time, this gift changes the way people approach you. They can't predict how you'll respond, how you'll interpret the energy in the room, or which script you'll disregard. They try, of course, but the harder they try, the more obvious their true selves become. And that is what makes your influence so quietly undeniable. You don't force truth, you simply allow it to surface in the presence of someone who refuses to perform. Number 3. You make people remember what they tried to forget about themselves. There's a strange gravity to your presence that pulls hidden truths to the surface. People carry pieces of themselves they don't want to acknowledge, regrets, fears, ambitions they've buried, memories they've locked away. Most of the time, they live their lives as if those parts don't exist, carefully constructing a version of themselves that feels safe, acceptable, or ordinary. But when they encounter you, that careful facade starts to wobble. Without even trying, you touch parts of them that they thought were long gone, awakening recognition of who they really are underneath all the noise and pretense. This isn't about manipulation or confrontation. You don't prod, question, or accuse. Your energy simply resonates in a way that aligns with their hidden truths. The effect is subtle at first, a pause in conversation, a flicker of emotion, a thought they can't shake. Then it grows. Suddenly, they remember choices they once made, dreams they abandoned, or the person they swore they would never become. You act as a mirror, not a judge, and it's this reflection that forces them to face what they've been avoiding. The truth doesn't scream. It surfaces quietly, persistent and undeniable, and they realize they've been trying to outrun it for years. What makes this power so extraordinary is that it happens instinctively. You don't need to analyze someone's past or coax them into confession. Your presence alone is enough to stir dormant awareness, to awaken the buried layers of identity that people think are forgotten. They may resist, feel uncomfortable, or even be defensive, but they cannot ignore the sudden clarity you bring. It's like a light switching on in a room they thought was dark forever, and the effect doesn't stop with a single encounter. Once those forgotten truths are triggered, they linger. People leave your presence changed, often unsettled, sometimes inspired, because the parts of themselves they ignored have been awakened. You don't just see people, you activate them. You make them remember who they truly are, and in doing so, you reveal the extraordinary power of someone who refuses to blend into ordinary life. Number 4, you read environments like they're speaking to you, not just existing around you. There's a subtle intelligence in the way you absorb the world. While most people glance at a room, a crowd, or a situation and see only what's obvious, chairs, walls, conversations, you perceive a deeper language. You notice the energy in the space, the tensions between people, the unspoken hierarchies, the invisible currents that dictate behavior. You don't just observe, you decode. Every glance, every gesture, every silence becomes data, and your mind organizes it effortlessly. What others overlook as background noise, you understand as a map of interactions, intentions, and hidden truths. This skill is rarely conscious. You don't need to take notes or analyze details logically. Your intuition has already sorted the patterns before anyone else is aware. You sense where influence flows in a room, who holds power even when it's unacknowledged, and who is out of place long before anyone calls it out. The atmosphere itself communicates to you, revealing secrets about the people and situations within it. A tension in the air tells you about conflict before it's spoken. A shift in posture signals hidden agendas. You see the unspoken narrative playing out silently around you. What makes this ability extraordinary is its precision. You can navigate complex social landscapes, business negotiations, or emotionally charged gatherings with a clarity others can't even imagine. People may think they're hiding their intentions, their doubts, or their strategies, but you perceive them effortlessly. You understand how the room will react to your presence, how words will land, and how energy will shift long before anyone realizes what's happening. This power doesn't demand attention, yet it exerts quiet influence. By simply being present, you read the room in real time and adjust instinctively. People may never know why certain interactions feel smooth or why they suddenly feel exposed or understood. You're tuned to subtleties most don't recognize, and that allows you to move through life with an awareness that feels almost supernatural. In a world where most people are reacting, you are perceiving, interpreting, and flowing with the undercurrents of reality that are invisible to everyone else. Number 5, you recognize when someone is pretending to be smart, brave, or pure. Most people are masters at performing. They craft an image of intelligence, courage, or morality to fit expectations, to gain approval, or to hide their insecurities. The problem is, you don't fall for it. Your perception cuts through the facade effortlessly. You don't need evidence, confessions, or proof. You can feel the difference between genuine ability and staged performance, between true courage and postured bravery, between authentic integrity and a show of purity. People around you may spend hours or even years convincing themselves of the story they want to tell, but you see the cracks in real time. What makes this power so powerful is subtle yet profound. You don't point it out to humiliate or challenge, though sometimes your presence does that anyway. You simply notice it. You sense the strain behind forced confidence, the hesitation behind staged decisions, the moral compromises people try to bury beneath polished words. Your awareness of authenticity forces others into a rare kind of exposure. They may not even realize they're showing you the truth they're hiding from themselves, but the impact is immediate. They behave differently, consciously or not, because your perception doesn't allow the illusion to hold. This ability changes the way you interact with people. You approach relationships, decisions and collaborations with clarity most don't possess. You quickly assess whether someone's competence is real or just smoke and mirrors, whether their courage is situational or performative, whether their intentions are pure or cleverly masked. This makes you exceptionally hard to manipulate or deceive because you sense the gaps between who people say they are and who they actually are. It also creates an invisible kind of power. People feel exposed around you, even if you say nothing, because they know, deep down, that your insight doesn't lie. You recognize authenticity instinctively, and in a world where pretense is the default, this ability isolates truth from illusion with ruthless precision. You live in a space most never see, where honesty, skill, and integrity reveal themselves naturally, and falsehoods crumble quietly under your attention. This is why your presence is simultaneously compelling, intimidating, and quietly transformative. Number 6, you can sit with discomfort. Without needing solutions immediately, most people are terrified of discomfort. They panic at uncertainty, stress, or tension, and rush to fix, control, or escape it. You, however, operate differently. You have the rare ability to simply sit with discomfort, to let it exist without forcing a resolution or pretending it isn't there. You don't need an answer, a solution, or a clear path before you can engage with a situation. This patience isn't passive, it's active awareness. You absorb the tension, observe it, understand it, and allow it to reveal its true shape over time. This gives you a clarity most people will never experience because they're too busy reacting to what unsettles them. This ability makes you exceptionally grounded. While others are scrambling to patch over problems, spin excuses, or manipulate outcomes, you watch, analyze, and feel the rhythm of the situation. You notice what's hidden in the discomfort, the small truths, the cracks in logic, the unspoken dynamics that everyone else misses. The tension itself becomes a source of insight because you don't run from it. You live inside it long enough to see what others cannot. Sitting with discomfort also gives you control without showing control. People often feel exposed or unsettled around you, not because you're asserting dominance, but because you're calmly absorbing what would normally overwhelm them. They try to manipulate, rush decisions, or escalate situations, but you remain steady. Your patience forces the truth to surface naturally. Others' urgency fades in comparison to your quiet endurance, and in that gap you gain understanding, perspective, and influence. What sets this apart from ordinary patience is that it's not learned or forced. It's instinctive. You're able to endure tension, uncertainty, or emotional friction without anxiety or judgment. This doesn't just make you resilient, it makes you predictively powerful. You see outcomes forming in ways others cannot, because you're comfortable witnessing the chaos without the need to impose order immediately. You move with insight rather than reaction, and that gives you a quiet but undeniable mastery over situations most people never learn to navigate. Your ability to sit with discomfort is a hidden force that transforms chaos into clarity and impatience into revelation. Number 7. You have an internal clock for timing that rarely misses. Timing is everything, and most people live as if it's a random, uncontrollable element of life. You, however, move to a rhythm that almost nobody else can perceive. It's not learned from schedules or routines. It's instinctive, a deep internal sense of when to act, when to wait, when to speak, and when to remain silent. While others rush into decisions or hesitate too long, you hit the exact moment when impact is strongest, influence is clearest, and outcomes align in your favor. This isn't luck. It's an intuitive mastery of timing that feels uncanny to those around you. Your sense of timing extends far beyond simple logistics. You know when someone is ready to reveal themselves, when an idea will land without resistance, and when the energy in a room is perfectly aligned for action. You detect subtle shifts in moods, intentions, and opportunities that signal the perfect moment to move. People often assume you're bold, decisive, or even lucky, but in reality, you're reading invisible signals and responding to them instinctively. Others flail in uncertainty while you navigate with precision, almost as if you're dancing ahead of the rhythm everyone else is struggling to follow. This internal clock also protects you. You sense danger, tension, or manipulation before it fully forms, allowing you to step back, speak, or act at exactly the right instant. You don't need to rush. You don't need to force events to unfold. You understand when to let situations evolve naturally, when to intervene, and when your silence is more powerful than any action. Your timing transforms ordinary interactions into strategic advantages, subtle but decisive moves that leave others scrambling to catch up. What makes this ability extraordinary is its effortless nature. You don't calculate, overthink, or force outcomes. You simply respond in alignment with the invisible flow of people, events, and circumstances. That precision creates a magnetic authority. People notice, sometimes envy, but rarely understand. Your internal clock is a hidden weapon, an instinctive compass guiding you through life with a foresight that feels almost supernatural. It is one of those invisible powers that changes everything quietly yet profoundly, giving you an edge that is both subtle and undeniable. Number 8. You erode manipulation. Simply by not responding the way manipulators expect. Manipulators rely on patterns. They depend on predictable reactions, emotional triggers, and the subtle ways people bend to expectation. Most people fall into their traps without even realizing it, reacting exactly as intended, feeding the game without question. You, however, are different. You don't follow the script. You don't act according to the cues they expect. You disrupt their carefully constructed control simply by existing outside the predictable patterns. The effect is quiet but devastating. Their influence crumbles, and they are forced to confront a reality they can't control. This power is subtle because it doesn't require confrontation. You don't argue or expose, you simply refuse to play the role they designed. A manipulator might try to provoke fear, guilt, or doubt, but when you meet it with calm, neutrality, or an unexpected response, their entire strategy collapses. They flounder, reassess, and sometimes panic because the formulas they rely on fail entirely. You don't need to prove yourself, explain, or fight. Your presence alone destabilizes their scheme. It's not about being superior or confrontational. It's about alignment with your own truth. Because you respond from an authentic place, manipulators' tricks have no purchase. Their attempts to bend you, confuse you, or control you are rendered ineffective because you operate on a different wavelength. The emotional pull they rely on, the guilt, the shame, the fear, simply doesn't register in the way they expect. This skill also gives you clarity. While others are entangled in deception, you perceive the intentions behind words and actions, allowing you to navigate situations without losing your balance. You don't have to chase justice or expose someone's scheme. The imbalance reveals itself naturally. Manipulators often leave frustrated, confused, and exposed, all because you refused to validate their control. The quiet power of this ability is extraordinary. It doesn't shout, it doesn't need recognition, and it doesn't require force. By simply being consistent, aware, and unshakable, you dismantle influence and reclaim space in ways most people never learn. In a world built on manipulation and expectation, your immunity to it is both a shield and a weapon. It makes you untouchable in the subtle battles that govern human interaction, leaving manipulators powerless without anyone else even noticing. Number 9. You see patterns in people long before they show their behavior. Most people react to behavior in real time, judging someone by what they say, do, or show on the surface. You operate differently. You see the trajectory of a person, the patterns in their thoughts, emotions, and actions, before they fully manifest. You notice the subtle hints, a repeated gesture, a fleeting glance, a tone that doesn't quite match the words. These tiny details are invisible to most, but to you, they're signals, indicators of the person's future choices, tendencies, and intentions. You don't just see the moment, you see the unfolding story. This ability gives you a clarity that feels almost prophetic. You can anticipate behavior in situations where others are blind. You sense when someone is about to overreach, when someone's charm is masking selfishness, or when loyalty will falter. It's not guesswork or assumption, it's pattern recognition at a human level, connecting dots that most people don't even know exist. You read the rhythm of personality, the repetition of choices, and the subtle echoes of past actions, and you understand where it all is heading. The power in this skill is quiet but undeniable. You don't need to intervene or manipulate. Simply knowing the trajectory allows you to navigate interactions with precision. You can avoid unnecessary conflict, protect yourself from deception, and make decisions with foresight others can't match. People often underestimate the significance of subtle habits and cues, but you see them as the blueprint for future behavior. It's like reading a book before anyone else has turned the pages, knowing the plot before it's revealed. What makes this extraordinary is that it's instinctive and effortless for you. Others might try to predict outcomes with logic or analysis, but your understanding doesn't rely on conscious effort. It flows naturally from observation and intuition. People may call you insightful or uncanny, but in reality, you're simply attuned to what the world is trying to hide. This ability doesn't just give you an edge. It makes you untouchable in situations where foresight, judgment, and perception are everything. You don't wait for behavior to define someone. You already see the pattern long before it becomes visible to anyone else. Number 10. Your presence forces people to confront their own inconsistency. There's an invisible pressure in the way you exist that makes people uncomfortable in the most revealing ways. You don't need to call anyone out, challenge them, or highlight flaws. Simply being yourself exposes the cracks in the versions of themselves they've been pretending to be. Your integrity, confidence, and alignment with your own truth act like a silent spotlight, illuminating inconsistencies they've worked hard to hide. People feel it almost immediately. They start noticing the gap between who they say they are and how they actually behave, and that realization is unsettling for them. This isn't something you do intentionally. It's not about superiority or judgment. It's about authenticity. You operate according to your own internal compass, without bending to expectations, seeking approval, or playing games. In contrast, most people are constantly performing, adjusting their actions and managing impressions to fit a desired image. When they interact with you, those patterns are disrupted. Their masks don't align with your energy, their scripted behaviors clash with your authenticity, and the truth they've been avoiding rises to the surface without any effort on your part. The effect is both subtle and profound. You create a mirror in which people see themselves more clearly than they ever intended. Their hesitation, defensiveness, or nervous energy signals that they're aware of it too, even if they can't articulate it. Over time, this leads to a shift. Some are inspired to align more closely with their true selves, while others react with frustration or avoidance. Either way, your presence triggers reflection, honesty, and self-exposure that few people can endure. This power is extraordinary because it operates silently and efficiently. You don't need to intervene. You simply exist as a standard of consistency and authenticity. People cannot ignore it, and their reactions reveal far more than words ever could. You are, in essence, a living truth detector. By holding steady in your own alignment, you reveal the inconsistencies in everyone around you, forcing them to face realities they would rather avoid. That is the kind of influence that reshapes interactions, decisions, and even entire lives without a single confrontation. Number 11. You are immune to group pressure. Because your identity wasn't built on approval, Most people live their lives tethered to the opinions of others. Their choices, words, and even moods are subtly shaped by what they think will earn approval, avoid criticism, or fit in with the crowd. You are fundamentally different. Your identity is self-contained. It wasn't constructed on applause, validation, or the approval of others. Because of this, group pressure, the silent push to conform, agree, or perform, doesn't influence you the way it does almost everyone else. You remain anchored, steady, and unwavering, even in environments designed to force compliance. This immunity gives you an unusual kind of freedom. While others bend, hesitate, or compromise to align with collective expectations, you act from your own internal compass. You speak what's true for you, take actions that align with your principles, and make decisions without needing consensus. People notice it immediately. They are drawn to your confidence, sometimes inspired, sometimes intimidated, because your independence exposes the ways in which they themselves have been shaped by external pressures. Your presence alone challenges the group dynamic. You reveal the invisible strings others unconsciously follow. Leaders, peers, and even friends may feel the tension of having someone in the room who refuses to conform, who doesn't play along, and who refuses to dilute their individuality. This doesn't make you difficult. It makes you perceptive and unshakable. You navigate social environments on your own terms, choosing alignment over approval, truth over comfort, and freedom over expectation. This ability also acts as a safeguard. Manipulation, peer pressure, and social coercion are powerless against someone whose identity is whole and self-reliant. You can make decisions that feel risky or unpopular without hesitation because your actions aren't tethered to others' judgments. While the crowd falters, debates endlessly, or second-guesses itself, you move with clarity and purpose. In a world where most people are subtly enslaved by the need to belong, your immunity is a quiet but extraordinary superpower. It allows you to exist as an independent force, untouchable, steady, and authentic, navigating life on your own terms, while others struggle to even recognize their own chains. Number 12. You notice what's missing just as clearly as what's there. Most people focus on what's in front of them, the words spoken, the actions taken, the obvious signs of behavior. You operate on a different level. You perceive absence as vividly as presence. You notice the silence where accountability should be, the hesitation where confidence is expected, and the gaps in conversations, actions, and intentions that others overlook. While people are distracted by surface-level appearances, you see the empty spaces that reveal far more about reality than what's actually visible. This ability gives you a profound clarity. You understand that what isn't said, what isn't done, or what isn't present often carries the most weight. Missing details, suppressed emotions, unspoken motives, they all tell a story that others can't see. You pick up on the voids that reveal contradictions, deceptions, or hidden truths. Where most people assume everything is as it appears, you sense the invisible framework underneath, the structures and gaps that shape outcomes and define intentions. What makes this gift extraordinary is its subtle power. You can read between the lines of interactions, organizations, and relationships with a precision that feels almost supernatural to others. People may present a confident front, a polished explanation, or a convincing story, but you detect the holes, inconsistencies, and absences that betray the reality behind the performance. You recognize when something is being withheld, ignored, or avoided, and that awareness allows you to operate with foresight that others cannot match. This perception also allows you to move strategically in life. You anticipate risks, uncover hidden opportunities, and navigate complex social and professional dynamics, because you understand not only what is present, but also what is absent. The invisible spaces, the quiet omissions, and the unspoken truths become your guideposts. While most people are distracted by appearances, you are guided by the unseen, the missing, and the understated. In a world where everyone focuses on what is obvious, your ability to notice what's missing gives you an unparalleled advantage. You see the full picture even when others only see fragments, and that makes you quietly extraordinary. Number 13. You carry a calm that makes people reveal themselves too fast. There's a rare kind of energy in you that disarms people without effort. You don't push, prod, or interrogate, yet somehow, when you're present, people expose parts of themselves they usually hide. It isn't intimidation or force, it's the quiet confidence, the unshakable calm you radiate that creates a space where others feel they can, or must, drop their defenses. They speak faster, overshare, or slip into truths they normally guard carefully, and they do it without even realizing why. Your calm doesn't just soothe, it draws out authenticity. Most people are constantly calculating what to reveal, how to appear, and what to conceal. Your presence interrupts that cycle. When someone meets your steady energy, the mask they rely on starts to feel heavy, unnecessary, or even awkward. They respond instinctively, revealing emotions, intentions, and secrets that would remain buried with anyone else. You don't ask for it, but it happens naturally because you create an environment where deception, pretense, and careful planning feel out of place. What makes this ability extraordinary is how effortless it is. You're not trying to extract information or manipulate. Your authenticity alone creates the conditions for revelation. People feel safe enough to drop their act, yet exposed enough that honesty surfaces. It's a strange paradox. Your calm encourages openness, but that openness often catches people off guard. They overshare because the tension they usually carry around others disappears in your presence, replaced by a subtle, magnetic stillness that you don't even think about maintaining. This power also gives you insight and influence without force. By simply existing in your steady state, you see motives, insecurities, desires, and truths that others try to hide. You gain clarity about people's intentions and character because they reveal it themselves. While most need interrogation, observation, or analysis, you get unfiltered truth delivered voluntarily. Your calm becomes a silent key, unlocking doors people didn't even know were there. In a world full of guarded energy and calculated personas, your ability to draw out truth effortlessly sets you apart in a way that's quietly, profoundly powerful. Number 14. You function from an inner logic that doesn't need permission to be different. Most people live by rules written by others, society, culture, peers, or authority figures. They constantly seek approval, validation, or confirmation before acting, worrying about whether their choices will be accepted or admired. You are fundamentally different. Your decisions, actions, and thoughts flow from an inner logic that doesn't require anyone's permission. You are guided by principles and understanding that belong entirely to you, and that independence shapes every aspect of your life. People notice it immediately, even if they can't put it into words, because your way of existing doesn't fit into the usual patterns of compliance or expectation. This internal framework allows you to act freely in ways most people cannot. You don't overanalyze external judgment or bend under pressure. You move through life on your own terms, guided by reasoning and intuition that others often find impossible to decode. Your choices appear unconventional, unpredictable, or even mysterious because they are not filtered through the lens of societal expectation. You are original, not because you try to be, but because your logic is self-contained and authentic. The power of this ability lies in its quiet authority. You don't need to persuade, perform, or explain yourself for people to recognize your presence. Your independence is magnetic. Others may feel unsettled, challenged, or inspired by it, because it exposes the subtle ways in which they have allowed external influences to dictate their lives. While they conform, hesitate, or compromise, you act with clarity and certainty that comes from your inner alignment, making you untouchable in decisions, relationships, and personal growth. This self-reliance also shields you from manipulation. When your reasoning is rooted internally, others' attempts to sway, deceive, or control you lose power. You evaluate everything by your own standard, not by someone else's expectation. In a world obsessed with conformity, your ability to operate from internal logic is revolutionary. It gives you autonomy, clarity, and resilience that others can only admire from the outside. You exist on a plane where authenticity and independence are not aspirations. They are default settings, defining the extraordinary way you navigate life. Every one of these abilities is a reflection of a rare and extraordinary way of experiencing the world. You don't just navigate life, you sense it, read it, and move through it with a precision and awareness that most people can only dream of. Your mind catches what others miss. Your presence reveals hidden truths, and your instincts guide you in ways that feel almost supernatural. You operate on levels that go beyond surface appearances, beyond what's spoken or shown, tapping into patterns, energies, and subtle shifts that most will never perceive. What sets you apart isn't force, manipulation, or spectacle. It's authenticity. Your calm, your clarity, your independence, and your inner logic create a gravity that both illuminates and protects. You see the gaps, the hidden dynamics, and the inconsistencies in ways that allow you to act with foresight and integrity. People around you can sense it, often without understanding why, and that awareness changes the way they behave, react, and think. You awaken truths in others, sense trajectories before they unfold, and move through life in alignment with your own unique code. These powers are not showy, they are quietly transformative. They allow you to influence without imposing, to perceive without intruding, and to navigate the world with a mastery that seems invisible to the untrained eye. They are the markers of someone who is rare, exceptional, and profoundly impactful, even if most of the world will never notice how deeply they are affected by your presence. If this breakdown resonated with you, if you feel the power of these abilities within yourself, or recognize them in someone you know, make sure to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel for more deep insights. Leave a comment sharing your experiences, and share this video with others who need to hear the truth about these extraordinary abilities. Your awareness is just the beginning, and the journey to understanding it fully is only getting started. Stay awakened, chosen ones.